So Paul Kagame is messing with Donald Trump's ability to make lots of money on Congo's minerals and rare earths. So Paul Kagame signed a peace deal brokered by Donald Trump, and this was signed with the Congolese president. And one of the things that they agreed on was that Rwandan troops would leave the Congo. And this is just months after Paul Kagame told a CNN journalist that he didn't even know that his troops were in Congo. And now he's admitting those troops aren't going anywhere. They're not leaving the Congo. That's not a contradiction. He's admitting those troops aren't leaving. That's Kagame being himself. For those who've been watching this man for more than 5 minutes, it's not surprising. It's Kagame's true colors, and they're not hard to see. So just grab a drink and let's get into it. Let's talk about how this is Kagame's true colors. Let's start with uh, February 2023, or maybe let me just give a little bit of background. For the last 30 years, since 1996, Rwanda and Uganda have invaded and occupied the Congo. And this is with the help of the US, the UK, the European Union, and other Western nations backing Rwanda's occupation, backing Uganda's occupation and invasion of the Congo. There has been an ongoing genocide for the last 30 years in the Congo. The women in the Congo have suffered immeasurably as a result of this invasion, where attacks on their bodies have been treated as a battlefield, and there's been mass displacement, millions of people. I mean, when I say their bodies have been used as a battleground, rape has been used as a weapon of war. And um, this is since the invasion of Congo by Rwanda and Uganda, backed by the US in 1996. It's been 30 years. And Paul Kagame, for many years, has been backed by the US. But in recent times, there seems to have been a change in US policy or the approach, at least by the Trump administration. And the Trump administration seems to want Rwandan troops to get out of the Congo. And by the way, um, Rwandan troops have been great servants to the causes of Western hegemony on the African continent, especially, and other places, but especially in Africa, where Rwandan troops have served on peacekeeping missions in places where Western troops wouldn't go. They are today securing ExxonMobil and French oil company Total's assets in Cabo Delgado in Mozambique. They've been deployed in Sudan, in the Central African Republic, in Mali, and even in Haiti in previous times. And so the Congo's occupation was always, anytime there was any kind of backlash relating to the occupation, the invasion and occupation of the Congo, they would threaten to withdraw their troops from different parts where they're being used as basically as mercenaries of the West. And each time Kagame has gotten his way. But in recent times, um, he's continued to send his troops into the Congo to wreak havoc, to occupy. And the main driver of this conflict is Congo's minerals. Congo is one of the richest countries on the planet when it comes to, it is the richest country on the planet when it comes to natural resources. It has more than $24 trillion worth of resources. And what Rwanda's done is basically has become a conduit to the global consumption of these resources. Each one of us consumes resources from the Congo. The coltan that's used in the phones. There is so many minerals that are used not only in electronics, in a lot of the tech devices that we use, but also electric cars, um, aviation, um, military equipment, you name it. It's there's a lot of these minerals come from the Congo. In fact, the uranium used in the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki came from the Congo. So Congo is rich in the resources, and Rwanda has been a basically it's been an attack dog used by the West to get in there, secure the minerals for Western companies to exploit those minerals. And what is happened in recent times, Rwanda has sent thousands and thousands of troops into the Congo over the last 5 years to continue to displace people so they can take over land and to take over some more minerals. The largest coltan mineral mine, the Rubaya mine, has been occupied by Rwandan troops and their proxy militias in the Congo called the M23. In January of 2025 last year, they actually invaded multiple large cities in Congo, and they took over those cities. And in the taking over those cities, they they took the lives of thousands and thousands of people, at least 9,000 people. Hundreds of women were burnt in one of the prisons, and more sexual crimes committed against the Congolese. I mean, just countless horrible, horrific crimes. Now, during that time, the world was pointing the finger at Rwanda for invading the Congo. Uganda was involved, but Uganda's remained somewhat a silent player even in this war and occupation of the Congo. In February of 2025, a CNN journalist asked Paul Kagame, "Does he have troops in the Congo?" And here is the answer.
So let me ask this directly, Mr. President. Today, on the 3rd of February, does Rwanda currently have any troops at all in Eastern DRC?
I don't know.
You're the commander in chief.
Yeah, there are many things I don't know. But if
So this is Paul Kagame. He's always denying the atrocities that he commits. Now, the next piece is the CNN, the same journalist asked Paul Kagame if Rwanda is smuggling resources from Congo. So let's just real quickly stop with that video. Paul Kagame says he doesn't know if his troops are in the Congo. That was February 3rd, 2025, just a year ago. In February 2025, he didn't know his troops were in Congo. In December 2025, he signed a peace deal brokered by Trump, and of course, just by default, admitted that his troops were there because part of the deal was to remove Rwandan troops from the Congo. So somehow he didn't know that. Again, like I said earlier, this is Kagame's true colors. This is not even the first time that he's played this game. Back in the in the early years of the invasions of the Congo. And every time they invade the Congo, they create these proxy militias, which I'm not going to bore you with, but then and they use them as they talk as rebels supported by Rwanda instead of calling it what it is, that it's an invasion of Congo by Rwanda and by Uganda. So now, here in the early years of those invasions, Paul Kagame was adamant they had no Rwandan troops in the Congo. This went on, and they denied it for years and years. And then all of a sudden, they held a ceremony to receive Rwandan troops coming from the Congo, even though they had claimed they had no troops in the Congo. This is Paul Kagame. This is classic Paul Kagame. When they signed the peace deal, actually, before we go to the peace deal, let's go to the question of what is the driver of this war in the Congo. Let's see what he says about Rwanda smuggling minerals from Congo.
To fight for him his wars.
That Rwanda exports coltan, for instance, which does not exist here, is smuggled from DRC.
No, please, I invite you. We'll show you where we mine coltan. But
Does Rwanda export any other minerals that are smuggled from Eastern DRC?
I don't know about that, because that in any case can't be the problem. People
Notice how Kagame does not know anything. Anytime that there is a, something comes up that shows, incriminates him and his troops and his regime in these atrocities in the Congo, he doesn't know. But then the facts, the facts aren't on his side. So they keep, it just keeps rearing his head. And so after this conversation, now you see the journalist is correct. Rwanda does not have coltan. Congo has the coltan. In fact, after Kagame claimed that he would show this journalist the coltan, we are still waiting for him to show this the coltan mines in Rwanda. Rwanda is the largest exporter, has been the largest, the top exporter of coltan for many years on the continent. And Rwanda does not have those minerals. In Rwanda, is not nearly the amount, not even close, not even a fraction of the amount that they export. But somehow he claims they're not smuggled out of the Congo. Again, facts are just facts. Congo has the minerals. Rwanda exports the minerals. Rwanda has troops occupying the Congo, and so you do the math. But it just add it all together. You can research it and find out for yourself. But Rwanda is in fact smuggling minerals out of the Congo, selling them on the global market, and are protected basically by their proximity to these Western, their Western backers. Now, fast forward to December 2025. In December 2025, both the Congolese president, the gentleman on the right, and Paul Kagame in the middle, and Donald Trump, they signed this peace deal. And this deal, when you look at it, I know Trump claims that this is, he's the president of peace and everything, but it's about US companies accessing minerals in the Congo and basically exploiting those minerals. In fact, Donald Trump said it himself. Let me just, here he is saying that.
Economic benefits for everybody, and we'll be involved with sending some of our biggest and greatest companies over to the two countries, and we're going to take out some of the rare earth and take out some of the assets and pay, and everybody's going to make a lot of money.
Everybody's going to make a lot of money. Everybody's going to make a lot of money. So now, this was 4 months ago, barely 4 months ago, when they signed this peace deal. Earlier, before they actually, the two presidents signed, their foreign ministers had come to the US and signed in June of last year, at the end of June last year. And at that signing, after that signing, one of the comments that I made in a broadcast was, one thing you can be guaranteed of is that Paul Kagame and the Rwandan regime are not going to follow. They're not going to follow through with their commitments, because this is their history. Any deals that they've signed, especially peace deals, they have not abided by. And it was a simple matter of time. In fact, after signing the peace deal, in December, Rwandan troops took over another city in Congo, and of course committed horrific atrocities to take over that town. And there was major celebration the day that the U.S. pressured Rwanda to remove its troops from that town. So again, I'm saying all of this. When I first started, I was saying this is Paul Kagame messing with Donald Trump's ability to make money. Multiple US administrations, from the Clinton administration to the Bush administration to the Obama administration to the first Trump administration and Biden administration, have all enabled and allowed Paul Kagame to basically roam free in the Congo and commit the atrocities, extract the resources, and feed them to Western multinationals that exploit the Congo. And now the game has changed. It appears the U.S. wants to deal directly with the Congo for their minerals, and and so Paul Kagame is getting in the way. He looks like he's getting cut out of the deal, or he's not getting as big a cut as he was used to getting, and that is why he is now, continuing to resist the deal that he signed. In previous times, Paul Kagame has been part of groups that have that have signed deals and did not abide by them. Start, he's been, these crimes we're talking about, Paul Kagame has been part of this since the 1980s, when he was part of Uganda's president, Yoweri Museveni, a president who's been president for the last 40 years. Yoweri Museveni has been president since 1986. And by the way, he just won another election this year, and he ran to stop corruption. After being president for 40 years, he's running to stop corruption. This is Paul Kagame's mentor. And so during their war, he also fought a war to take over Uganda after losing an election, by the way. When they were fighting that war, there was a peace deal signed. It was called the Nairobi Accord. Yoweri Museveni, who had Kagame as one of his deputies, signed the deal and did not abide by the deal. Then fast forward to when Paul Kagame then, as a Ugandan soldier, part of a rebel group, invaded Rwanda. They also had multiple peace deals that they signed, multiple ceasefires that they signed and did not abide by them. In fact, in 1994, when the Rwandan genocide started, they had signed a peace deal. And now we know at this point that Paul Kagame was, according to testimony that I've heard myself from his own bodyguards, that Paul Kagame ordered the shooting of the plane, which was the first crime in Rwanda's genocide. This is the crime that actually started the genocide. We'll talk about this in another conversation, another video. But he basically also violated that peace deal by ordering that shooting, and that's what set off the Rwandan genocide, which was a horrific genocide that I myself barely survived. And I'll share that story too in another video. But that's Paul Kagame. Fast forward to Congo. They invaded the Congo in 1996 and continued to commit all of these atrocities. And during that time, the Paul Kagame and his proxy rebel groups, they signed multiple ceasefires, multiple deals, multiple peace deals, including this time. They've actually signed multiple peace deals even now, in the last 5 years. He has chickened out of going to sign in Angola. He has disregarded some of the other agreements that he signed. He has disregarded multiple ceasefires. And so he and this group called the M23, which is just the latest name of what he sets up as his proxy militias and proxy rebels in the Congo, they have broken multiple ceasefires. So so this peace deal was doomed to fail from the beginning, because one of the players at minimum well, we know multiple of the players, but one of the players has a history of not abiding by the deals that he signs. Now, here is his most recent interview with Jeune Afrique, which is a newspaper that is actually very friendly with him. Is a French newspaper or a French language newspaper that writes a lot on Africa, and now they do new media. Here is his interview and what he actually said to the journalist about Rwandan troops coming out of the Congo.
Places, defensive measures we take. And defensive measures do not mean one thing.
Concerning those measures, defensive measures, Mr. President, if I'm not mistaken, Rwanda refuses to withdraw its troops from Eastern Congo until FDLR is eliminated.
We refuse to remove defensive measures. Whether it means troops or troops and whatever else, we call it defensive measures. And in your logic, why would
So now the question is, what will Trump do with Kagame messing with his peace deal, which is really essentially a minerals deal? And more importantly, how will this potentially escalate a violent genocide that Rwanda has been waging in the Congo, considering this latest pronouncement by Paul Kagame? Now, don't get it twisted. Donald Trump is not in it because he somehow wants to see it's peace for the Congolese, or he's concerned about their lives. I know he's talked about, and you know what? I'm glad that it's actually getting out there that there are more than 10 million, maybe even more than 15 million Congolese people who have lost their lives as a result of Rwanda and Uganda invading the Congo. He's talked about that a bunch, but it's not about those lives. It's about access to those minerals. It's about the race, the arms race that the U.S. is in with China for the rare earths and the rare minerals, and Congo has a lot of those. That's what the deal is about. It's about U.S. companies accessing those minerals. However, at the same time, you have obviously all of the various players who all have a part to play. Kagame has been for a long time protected by the West, and so the question is, could this be a turn? Because actually, in recent times, the U.S. has stepped up and sanctioned Rwanda's military and Rwanda's top military leaders, top generals, for their belligerence in the Congo. So could this be a change? Leave a comment and let me know if you think this is a change in U.S. policy, or it's business as usual. We'll continue to see Paul Kagame being belligerent in the Congo, occupying, pillaging, raping, and taking over resources, with Western multinationals and global multinationals involved in this? Or is it, will Donald Trump force Kagame's hand? Will Congo get peace? What is the path to peace for Congo? So that's the video. Leave me a comment. Hit the like button, subscribe, and we are trying to grow this channel. It's just started. And so, yeah, leave me a comment and like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And we'll talk to you soon.